The season you're in right now is not a coincidence. Have you ever wondered why your life suddenly feels so different? Why the people you thought would stay are no longer there? Why the doors you prayed would open keep closing? Why you are being forced to wait when everyone around you seems to be moving forward? And why, even though you cannot explain it, something inside you keeps telling you, this is not the end of my story. What if I told you the season you are in right now is not a coincidence? The loneliness, the delay, the unanswered prayers, the closed doors, the confusion, even the things you are currently struggling to understand may be connected to something God is preparing you for. You may think your life is falling apart, but what if God is actually rearranging it? You may think you are being left behind, but what if God is pulling you away from something that was never meant to follow you into your future? You may think nothing is happening, but what if the deepest work is happening in the places you cannot see? Because sometimes, before God changes your circumstances, He changes you. Before He opens the door, He prepares you to walk through it. Before He gives you the blessing, He builds the strength to carry it. And sometimes, the season you are desperate to escape is the very season God is using to prepare you for the life you have been praying for. So if you have been feeling stuck, if you have been wondering why God has not answered yet, if you have been asking, why am I going through this? Stay with me until the end, because there may be a reason you are hearing this message right now. And by the end of this video, you may finally understand why this season of your life is not a coincidence. Have you ever looked at your life and quietly asked yourself, why am I going through this right now? Why does everything feel different? Why are certain people leaving? Why are some doors closing? Why does it feel like you are waiting, but nothing is happening? Maybe you feel stuck. Maybe you feel behind. Maybe you feel like everyone else is moving forward while you are standing in the same place. But what if this season of your life is not random? What if the loneliness, the waiting, the closed doors, the unanswered prayers, and even the things you never asked for are all part of something God is doing in you? You may not understand this season, but that does not mean God is absent from it. Sometimes, God will take you into a season you never would have chosen, because He is preparing you for something you could never have prepared yourself for. You wanted the blessing, but God knew you needed the preparation first. You wanted the answer, but God knew you needed to become ready for the answer. You wanted the door to open, but God knew there were still things inside you that had to be healed, strengthened, and surrendered. The season you are in right now is not a coincidence. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. And you are not behind just because your journey looks different from everyone else's. There are seasons in life, and every season has a purpose. There is a season of planting, a season of waiting, a season of growing, a season of pruning, and eventually, a season of harvest. The problem is, we often want to harvest in a season where God is still planting. We want the result while God is working on the roots. And roots grow in darkness. Nobody sees them. Nobody applauds them. Nobody celebrates them. But without roots, there can be no fruit. Maybe your life feels hidden right now. Maybe nobody sees how hard you are trying. Maybe nobody knows how many times you have had to encourage yourself. Maybe people see your silence, but they do not see the battles you are fighting inside. But God sees. God sees the prayers you never spoke out loud. God sees the tears you wiped away before anyone noticed. God sees the moments when you almost gave up, but kept going anyway. And sometimes, the season that feels like nothing is happening is actually the season where God is doing the deepest work. Look at Joseph. He had a dream. He had a promise. But before he reached the palace, he went through rejection, betrayal, isolation, and years of waiting. Imagine being Joseph, knowing you have a purpose, but living in a place that looks completely opposite to the promise. He had the dream, but not the position. He had the calling, but not the opportunity. He had the promise, but not the evidence. And yet, the prison was not the end of his story. It was part of the preparation. The pit was not the end. The prison was not the end. The waiting was not the end. God was working through every season, even the seasons Joseph probably did not understand. And maybe you are in your own prison season right now, a season where you feel limited, delayed, overlooked, unseen. But do not assume that because you are hidden, you are useless. Some of God's greatest work happens in hidden places. David was anointed to be king, but then he went back to taking care of sheep. Think about that. He was anointed, but still had to wait. He had a promise, but still had to face battles. He was chosen, but still had to grow. And maybe that is where you are right now. You know there is something more inside you. You can feel that you were created for more. But your current life does not look like the future you imagine. That can be frustrating. But your current season is not always a reflection of your final destination. Sometimes, God gives you a glimpse of the future, not to make you impatient, but to give you hope while He prepares you. The season you are in right now may be teaching you something you will need later. Your loneliness may be teaching you how to hear God's voice. Your waiting may be teaching you patience. Your rejection may be redirecting you. Your closed door may be protecting you. Your disappointment may be changing your priorities. Your pain may be revealing what truly matters. And the thing you keep asking God to remove may be the very thing He is using to develop your strength. This does not mean every painful experience is good. It does not mean you should stay in harmful situations. It does not mean you have to pretend that everything is okay. But it does mean God can bring purpose out of seasons you never would have chosen. He can take what was meant to break you and use it to build you. He can take a delay and turn it into preparation. He can take rejection and use it to redirect your path. He can take your weakness and teach you dependence on Him. You may be asking, God, why is this happening to me? But maybe one day you will look back and say, now I understand why I had to go through that season. Right now, you only see the chapter. God sees the entire story. You see the closed door. God sees what was on the other side. You see the delay. God sees the timing. You see the loss. God sees what He is making room for. You see the waiting. God sees the preparation. And this is why you cannot judge your entire life by one difficult season. A winter season does not mean life is over. It means something is happening beneath the surface. Trees lose their leaves, but they are not dead. They are conserving strength, preparing for another season. And maybe you are not losing everything. Maybe you are being prepared for a new season. Maybe the version of you that survived the last season cannot enter the next one. Maybe God is changing your thinking. your priorities, your relationships, your desires, your habits, your faith, because the next season will require a different version of you. And sometimes God will allow you to become uncomfortable, because comfort can keep you in places you were never meant to stay. You may be asking God for a new life while holding on to old patterns. You may be praying for new opportunities while still carrying old fear. You may be asking for new relationships while still allowing the wrong people to control your peace. You may be asking God to bless you while refusing to release what He is asking you to surrender. And surrender is not always easy. Sometimes God's biggest answer begins with a goodbye. A goodbye to an old identity, a goodbye to an old habit, a goodbye to an old relationship, a goodbye to the need to control everything, a goodbye to the version of you that was created by fear. And when God removes something, it may feel like loss, but sometimes it is actually freedom. You may not understand why certain people are no longer in your life, but not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay for every season. Some people are connected to a chapter, not the entire story. And when a chapter ends, you have to trust God enough to turn the page. Do not keep rereading a chapter that God has already finished. Do not keep begging for access to a door that God has already closed. Sometimes the closed door is the answer. You just do not recognize it because you were hoping for a different one. But God knows what you cannot see. He knows what that opportunity would have cost you. He knows what that relationship would have done to your peace. He knows what that path would have taken you away from. And sometimes protection feels like rejection. But one day, you may thank God for every door He refused to open. So if you're in a season of waiting, do not waste it. Do not spend every day asking, "When will this be over?" Ask instead, "What is God teaching me here? What is this season developing in me? What is God asking me to release? What is He preparing me to carry?" Because every season can teach you something. A season of waiting can teach you patience. A season of loneliness can teach you identity. A season of uncertainty can teach you faith. A season of loss can teach you what is truly valuable. A season of silence can teach you to listen. And a season of difficulty can reveal a strength you never knew you had. You are stronger than the season that tried to destroy your hope. You are still here. You are still breathing. You are still moving. You may not be where you want to be, but you are not where you used to be. And that matters. Do not overlook the progress just because you have not reached the destination. Sometimes growth is quiet. You do not always notice it. You simply realize one day that the things that used to control you no longer have the same power. The things that used to destroy your peace no longer define you. The people you once needed, you can now release. The situations you once feared, you can now face. And suddenly, you realize God was working in you long before He changed everything around you. This is the part many people miss. We ask God to change our circumstances, but sometimes God begins by changing us, because if He changes your circumstances before changing your character, you may not be ready for what you prayed for. The blessing can become a burden if the person receiving it is not prepared. The opportunity can become overwhelming if you have not developed the strength to carry it. The platform can expose you. If your identity depends on people's approval, the relationship can become unhealthy. if you expect another person to heal what only God can heal. So maybe God is not saying no. Maybe He is saying, not yet. And not yet is not the same as never. A delay is not always a denial. Sometimes the delay is preparation. Sometimes the delay is protection. Sometimes the delay is because the timing is not right. And sometimes God is preparing not only you, but also the circumstances around you. You cannot see all the pieces, but God can. You see one moment. He sees the entire timeline. You see today's problem. He sees tomorrow's purpose. You see the confusion. He sees the connection. So do not give up. In the middle of the story, you may be closer than you think, the darkest part of the night. Does not mean the sun will never rise, the seed underground. Does not mean the harvest will never come. The silence of God does not mean the absence of God. There are things happening that you cannot see yet. And just because you cannot see movement does not mean there is no movement. Faith is trusting God, even when you cannot see the full picture, even when the answer has not arrived, even when the door has not opened, even when your current reality looks completely different from your prayer. Faith says, I do not understand everything, but I still trust the one who does. And maybe that is the lesson of your current season, not to figure out everything, not to control everything, not to know every detail, but to trust God. One day at a time. You do not need enough faith for the next 10 years. You only need enough faith for today. You do not need to know the entire path. You only need to take the next step. You do not need to understand the entire plan. You only need to trust the one who created it. So breathe, slow down. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are not too late. Your story is still being written, and the season you are in right now is not a coincidence. There is something God is developing in you. There is something He is teaching you. There is something He is removing. There is something He is preparing. And one day, you may look back at this exact season, the season you thought was wasting your time, the season you thought was destroying your future, the season you thought God had abandoned you in, and you may realize God was closer than you ever knew. He was strengthening you. He was protecting you. He was preparing you. He was redirecting you. He was building something inside you that your future would require. So do not despise this season. Do not hate the process. Do not compare your journey to someone else's timeline. You are not late. You are not behind. You are on a journey that God understands completely. And if He brought you this far, He is not going to abandon you now. Your current season has an expiration date. The waiting will not last forever. The pain will not last forever. The confusion will not last forever. The chapter will not last forever, but what God is building inside you can last for the rest of your life. So keep going, keep praying, keep trusting, keep growing, even when you do not see immediate results, because sometimes the greatest transformation happens before anyone can see the evidence. And remember this, you are not walking through this season alone. God is with you in the waiting. God is with you in the uncertainty. God is with you in the silence. God is with you in the rebuilding. God is with you in the transition. And when the right season comes, you will understand why you had to become the person you are becoming right now. The season you are in is not a coincidence. The delay is not meaningless. The struggle is not the end. The waiting is not wasted, and your story is not over. Maybe God is preparing you for something you have been praying for, but have not yet become ready to receive. So trust the process, trust His timing, trust His wisdom, and most importantly, trust God. Because sometimes the season that feels like the end is actually the beginning of everything you prayed for. If this message spoke to your heart, write in the comments, "I trust God's timing." And if you believe that your current season has a purpose, subscribe to Inner Light, because every video here is created to remind you that even in your darkest season, God has not forgotten you. Your season may be changing, even if you cannot see it yet. And remember, what feels like the end may be the beginning of everything God has been preparing you for.